Alright guys, back on the 2000 Blazer here, upgrading the headlight bulbs in these. What I did here, if you want to run all four of your beams at the same time, your low and high beams at the same time, you can do that by coming over here on your low side beam, get into your wire harness here, and this yellow solid, the solid yellow wire here, just tap into that. What I did is I just cut the plastic out here a little bit, and then I put this other wire, this here red wire. Make sure you go with a fairly heavy gauge wire there. You don't want to go any smaller. You don't want to go smaller than the wire going to your headlight bulb, because there is some current going through there pretty good. You got, right now I'm running a 65 watt bulb on the low beam. Normally they're 55 watt, and I'll show you how I upgraded that to a 65 watt, which is just a standard. It's just a standard halogen. And the reason I run, and then on the high beam here, I'm running an LED. It's a 6-sided LED, and just a regular halogen 65 watt on this side. Simple reason that I do that is because your LEDs don't throw out any heat. So consequently, in the winter time, with no heat on there, you get a lot of slush and snow, where with the halogen, you puts out a lot of heat. This really gets warm right here, so it melts the snow and ice. That's the reason I went that way, because we do a lot of driving in the winter on these. But anyways, this wire here, guys, a yellow solid. There's two yellow wires in there. One of them's a yellow with a black stripe. That's not the one you want. You want the one that's solid yellow. And then simply all you do is tie into that with another wire and come over here somewhere and just ground that. All you gotta do is ground that wire. Your low beams will work just like they normally do. And then when you flip it to high beams, guys, your high beam and your low beam will work at the same time. So you're really lighting your roadway up really nice at nighttime by running four beams on there. And you want to make sure you get that paint wherever you ground it. You want to make sure you get a good ground there. You want to scrape that paint off there. Wherever you, whatever you ground to, you can ground anywhere up in here. So to do that, and I'll show you guys the difference here. It makes a huge difference. Really lights the roadway up really nice on the high beams. With this, set you down here for a minute, and I got to put that headlight back in, and I'll show you the difference on that. Is quite a bit different. And these 6-sided ones here, guys, they fit in here pretty good. Sometimes you'll have an issue hitting on the back side here. These here do not hit. And I'll show you which bulbs I'm using on that here in a minute. That hooked up. We'll shut some lights off here, guys, so you can see the difference on that. Really, lights are up nicely here, guys. Running all four beams. Right there's my low beam. That's low. Flip it over to high. There you go, guys. You got your low and your high running at the same time. Those LEDs, man, I tell you, they really light that road up real nice, so you can see off to the side, so you can see the deer and animals. Makes it a whole lot safer driving. And there's what it looks like with all four beams running at the same time. Like I said, it really lights the roadway up real nice, guys, running all 4 beams like that. Now, when you're running anything higher than 55, you may find that really gets that one plug back here really hot, guys. And I think on that blazer there I was running, I don't remember what I was running, but it ended up melting that that plug on the back side because I was running some high wattage bulbs on the low beam. And I'll show you how I did that. What I ended up doing, guys, is I ended up getting some little bit heavier duty let's see, I don't know where them are at right now, but anyways, what I did is I ended up ordering a little bit heavier duty or like a ceramic plug, and I ended up cutting that old plug off for the low beam. That was on that vehicle there because I was running some high wattage, and it did melt that, because those do get hot. Those halogens get really hot there, guys, especially if you run anything over I think it's 55 watt is the standard. Oh, okay, it's a 55 watt, the 9006s, which is your low beam standard on them. What I'm running now is I'm running these here type, which are 65 watt 9005s. In order to make that work, guys, you're if you see down in there, you got them 2 little fins, so they won't fit the plug won't fit into the low beam or your high beam with your low beam wire connector. So what I do, guys, is I got this here. You can use a Dremel, whatever you need to use, and just grind them 2 tabs out there, make that nice and smooth right there. And that way your low beam plug will plug into your high beam, so you can run your high beam on your low side. And they're not really, it doesn't affect other people coming at you with the 65 watt versus the 55 watt. You're just adding another 10 watt to your bulb. Makes it a little bit brighter on your low beams. I find that works out really well. People don't brighten me on the low beam with the 65 watters in there. They do make a 100 watt low beam, I believe, or maybe a high beam. But anyways, that's pretty high wattage, and you probably end up melting that plug, and you'll have to go to a heavier duty plug if you go anything higher than a 65 watt bulb in there. Because I think the standard your standard high beam come with these is 60 watt. So, I mean, you could run a 60 watt high beam, just, do like I said, just take your Dremel or whatever and cut those little tabs out there to smooth those out. Take that out, and then you can plug this right into your low beam socket. So that way you get a little bit brighter on your high beams. And here's the LEDs that I'm running in there. I really like these. They seem to be really bright, as you can see when I lit that up. What they are is they have 6 sides on them, so you're getting a pretty good light on the high beam. I wouldn't suggest running these on low beam. I wouldn't suggest that, because I think they're just too bright, and you're going to have too many people. I have never tried it. But I got a feeling if you run that on your low beam, you're going to get a lot of people. It's going to end up brightening you all the time running those on, because you could see the difference on those, how that really, that really lights that. It really throws a lot of beam all over the area. It's not a, straight beam like there. Right there's your low beam. And you can see what the high beam does. It kind of scatters the light everywhere. So you definitely probably do not want to run that. Those LEDs, you probably don't want to run those on your low beams too, because I think they're going to be too bright. And like I said, you'll be getting brighter all the time. I didn't try that, but I kind of, by the looks of that, I can figure that's probably what's going to happen. So that's why I went with the high beam, just your standard halogen. And like I said, also too, guys, running it this way in the wintertime, this here gets hot enough to melt the snow and slush and stuff. This LED, it will not. That's the only bad thing about the LEDs, changing the bulbs. The LEDs, you're not going to get that heat from it, so it's not going to melt the, when you get into a snowstorm or, you know, get a lot of slush on the road that gets showed up here on the headlights, it's not going to melt that. With the halogen, you're going to melt that off there, so, but yeah, it makes a huge difference there, guys, running all 4 beams at the same time. On your high beam, I really like that. It really lights everything up. You know, and I'm also going to add some lights down here too, guys. Right in this area, I'll probably add me some LED off-road lights, maybe, like I did on my other, like I did on this ZR2 here. These ones here I added. With all 4 of these lights and these, man, I'll tell you, it really lights that road up really nice. And I'm running basically the same deal on this one, except for I'm running a little bit different LED on there, because I put this in quite a few years ago, and back in all they had was a 2-sided, and I think those 4, the 6-sided is definitely it's quite a bit brighter than the yeah, we'll turn them on here. There's my low beam, and there's the high beam. You can see the difference there. Those are more of a, those LEDs are more of a direct lighting, I guess you'd say, versus the 6-sided where it throws the light kind of everywhere. The 2-sided, a guy might be able to run those 2-sided LEDs in your low beam if you wanted to do that, if you're driving, you know, in the summertime. Like I said, those don't heat up at all. And the halogens, they heat up so it melts your snow and slush off your headlights. And then when you throw those other ones on down there at the bottom, it does a pretty nice job of lighting the roadway up at night. Every once in a while, I do get people, if I'm running these down the road, some people that are in low vehicles, like real small cars or something, they do give me the brights sometimes, so I have to shut those off. But as far as people in pickups or SUVs and that, with those running, it doesn't seem to bother them. So that's just a heads up if you're going to add extra set of lighting down on the bottom there. Just be prepared that if you do run them all the time, you may be getting people to bright you. So, but going down a road by yourself with no traffic, it really lights everything up nicely there. So we'll check out one more time there, guys. A little bit different, quite a bit different beam pattern on those LEDs on the 6-sided compared to the 2-sided on my ZR2 there. The 2-sided are more of a direct beam versus these 6-sided. They kind of throw light everywhere, but it does light the roadway up nicely so you can see the animals and stuff out there on the road. So anyways, guys, I thought I'd throw that video out there. You can do this on your S10 pickups and your S10 Blazers. If you want to add have all 4 lights running at the same time, pretty simple. Like I said, just go in here and tie into make sure it's the solid yellow one, because if you tie into the black stripe, this here one's got a black stripe on it. You don't want to tie into that one because it won't work. You got to tie into, and this is tying into your low beam too, and all you have to do is do the one side. You don't have to do the other side. The other side, you don't need to do that. I always do it on the driver's side here. Just tap into that yellow light. You can do it to the passenger side as well, I'm guessing. Tap into the yellow wire on your low beam and just ground it somewhere. And that will run all 4 beams there on high. So, alrighty guys, that'll wrap this video up on the upgrading your headlights on an S10 pickup or an S10 Blazer.